Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this beautiful day. I'm thrilled to see so many of you joining us for today's webinar on EPR updates. I'm Ipsita Roy, and I'm excited to be your host for this informative session. Today's discussion will cover some crucial topics related to EPR, and we have two expert speakers, Mr. Abhishek Garg and Mr. Vikash Garg, joining us to share their insights and updates. I want to thank you all for taking the time out for your busy schedules to join us today. Your presence and engagement will make this session even more valuable. So let's dive into the agenda for today's discussion, which includes Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rule of 2023, updates from the regulatory circulars released by Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change, CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, and SPCB, State Pollution Control Board, CPCB third-party audits, annual return, and renewal. After the presentation, we will have a Q&A session where you can ask any questions you may have. The meeting, I will just try to request your kind attention to the meeting rules. The meeting is recorded. Meeting shall be based on Chatham rules. That is, only the discussions would be recorded without attributing to the speakers. Q&A session shall be taken in the last. Kindly restrict the discussion to the mentioned topic. And please note that all the attendees are on mute. For any queries, please use the raise hand feature. The moderator shall unmute and allows to speak in the Q&A round. Kindly introduce yourself briefly and your organization and ask the question. In view of the time limitations, we would request all to avoid repetitive questions. You may also please keep entering your queries in the chat box. Once again, I thank you all for joining us today, and let's make the most of this informative session. Now, I would like Mr. Abhishek Garg to please initiate.
Thank you, Ipshita, and thank you all of you again here. We are meeting again, and thanks for all of you, showing enthusiasm and a great participation for this session on webinar. So without further wasting any further time, let's start for the today's topic. Yes, let's move. So I'll start with the amendment which was recently introduced under the PWM rule on 27th April, in which some major notification has been released by MOFCC. The first very key information on this amendment has been three important things, very important things under this amendment. First, the deadline for filing annual return for PIBOs for FY 22-23 is extended to 31st October 2023 versus 30th June. So now the extension, the deadline for filing annual return for FY 22-23 is 31st October, the revised deadline versus 30th June. Further, the deadline for filing the annual return for plastic waste processor has been revised and extended to 31st July for FY 22-23. Previously, it was 30th April. Further, in the marking labeling obligation, the exemption list has been added for rigid plastic packaging. So now the exemption has been granted for marking labeling for rigid plastic packaging under the rule, under the PWM rules. Further, there are further amendments which has happened under the same rule, in which in the rule 13, wherein the registration of producer, recycler, and manufacturers are mentioned, there has been slight changes under that rule, which says PIBs need not need to file the renewal registration through a form 1, and they will come back as to around the renewal process in detail. And we have one slider up, key feelers about how the renewal will happen. Further, there are some other updates under the for this amendment on 27th April, which is for protocols for compostable and biodegradable plastic. So previously, there was a validity which was mentioned for the provisional certificate issued to such producers of compostable and biodegradable, which was till 30th June 2023, which is now been extended to 30th June 2024. Similarly, For registration of producer and recycler, there has been slight amendment under the same Rule 13, wherein they have said that the EPR registration granted can be changed on the request of PIBOs, and certificate will be issued for 1 year for the first fresh registration and renewed for 3 years once you file the renewal. Further, the slight amendment under the PWM rules, which talks about, PWM or EPR guidelines under the PWM rules, which talks about documents which are required for company and the authorized persons. So, in a gist, the three key things which this amendment is deadline, which is extended for filing annual return for PIBOs and PWP. For PIBO, it is 31st October. For PWP, it's 31st July. And now rigid plastic packaging is exempted from the marking labeling requirement under the rule. Moving on. Now I will be taking you through a lot of circulars which has been released during this month, in last couple of months. So there has been some notices, there has been some circulars released by MOFCC, there has been some circulars released by CPCB in response to MOFCC or office memorandums, and there is some notices issued by SPCB, specifically Sikkim SPCB. So I will be taking you through the gist of what has been updated under those directions issued by OMs and the CPCB and the SPCB, and you can find the detail of those with the attached presentation. So firstly, starting with the office memorandum dated 13th March 2023, wherein the subject it has wherein it is, if they are talking about uploading procurement and sales details on centralized portal. They have issued this direction to the CPCB to ease out the compliance requirement through providing the bulk upload feature, which is now we can see has been active on the CPCB portal. Further, through this OM, they have also clarified that last date for uploading the sales and purchases data for the PIBOs is 31st May 2023 for FY 22-23. So for last year, financial year, 1st April 2022 till 31st March 2023, the details of procurement and sales of plastic packaging needs to be updated on 31st May 2023. Going ahead for FY 23-24, this particular activity or compliance needs to be done on a quarterly mechanism. So, for example, for April, May, June 2023, the deadline for filing and reporting the purchase and sales transaction would be 31st July, which is end of the next succeeding month. So, this is what has been happened in terms of revision of deadlines for upload of procurement and sale details of plastic packaging. Further, there was another OM issued by MOFCC on 24th March 2023, wherein they have clarified about compostable and biodegradable plastics under PWM rule. Now they have clarified it to all SPCBs, PCCs, and the chairmen of all the SPCBs as well, wherein they have clarified saying that plastic pack, what is the difference between compostable and what is the difference between biodegradable. They have further clarified there is no biodegradable certified biodegradable plastic in the country as of date. On top of that, they have further went out on the same OM clarifying that use of some plastic packaging with termed as biocompostable, oxy-biodegradable or oxy-degradable are not recognized and certified by CPCB. So in today's date, and even there has been some news which has been recently floating around, wherein CPCB and MOFCC have clearly clarified that there is no biodegradable plastic packaging currently in India, which is certified by CPCB. So anyone who is coming and telling you that this biocompostable, this is biodegradable, this is oxy biodegradable, please ask them the CPCB approval and registration granted under the same, because they have clearly certified and clearly said that there is no biodegradable in the country currently. Further, there is an OM issued on 28th March, again by MOFCC, where there is a list of items which has been discussed in a combined manner. It's a big 4 pages which you can get along with our presentation. However, we have picked up the key things mentioned under that OM and impacting the PIBOs. Further, the first thing is that the registration for the producers now can be extended for next 6 months basis the application of CTO, which is consent to operate. So previously there was certain application there was certain producer application which was not approved because they didn't have the CTO or renewed CTO. So what they have said, if you have the application CTO filed application, you can proceed with your registration, producer registration under EPR basis the CTO application filed with the SPCB. On the same in the same OM, they have also asked that a feature of editing the upload and sales data under the CPCB portal under the section 8 ABCD, which deals with procurement, sales to registered and unregistered PIBOs, they need to have a facility of editing the data, which was previously not there. And further, before to this OM under the CPCB, there is a late fee mechanism if there is an application which is filed and which is rejected, or if some query is issued, or they are asking you to refile. There is a timeline given of 7 days, beyond which if a company refile the application, there will be penalties and fine which will be imposed, which is now been extended from 7 days to 21 days. And also MOFCC has asked CPCB to decrease the late fees for the micro and small medium producers. On top of that, they have further said that EPR registration for micro and small producers and importers will be done basis self-declaration on EPR targets to ease out the registration process for these small or micro and small producers and importers. On top of that, they have also said that provision will be made for producer registration to seek registration for multiple units within one state through one application itself, for which they are CPCB is yet to come back as to how this will be facilitated. Going ahead, there's another OM released on 29th March 2023, wherein they have certain provided guidelines on EPR for plastic packaging. Now, this clarifies very clearly that EPR obligation shall be reduced from producer obligation and transferred to its non-registered BOs as soon as they register. So let's say there is a company who is a producer who has filed an application, who is filing an application, and because there are certain brand owners who are not registered, they are not able to transfer those quantities on the name of those brand owners. Now, through this OM and through some facility which CPCB will build in the portal, wherein if the producer is disclosing the relevant details of those sale transaction to those unregistered brand owners, hence then the quantum of those sales of those quantity of plastic packaging will be reduced from the quantum of producer's obligation. Further, if when the brand owner will register in due course, they will have to take those quantum as their obligation. Further, in case there is an incorrect transfer of EPR liability from producer to brand owner, then the CPCB will take appropriate action and producer will have to fulfill those quantity, or maybe brand owner as applicable. Further, this mechanism wherein producer would be able to deduct the quantity sold to unregistered brand owner would be only applicable if the producer registered before 30th April. If they are registering themselves post 30th April, they will not be allowing the same mechanism. That's what written on the office memorandum. Please go ahead. Further, there has been a lot of circulars issued by CPCB as well, and which can be sourced directly on the EPR portal, CPCB EPR portal. The first notice which was released on the notice which was released on 3rd April 2023, wherein they spoke about removal of difficulties for implementation of EPR guidelines. First thing they mentioned under the same the circular was that PWPs, the plastic waste processors, need to generate and transfer the certificate EPR credit for for the sales made by PWPs in for FY 2023 22-23 by 30th April 23. Further, they have also spoken on the same that industrial drums shall be managed as per the EPR guidelines after detoxification, disinfection, shredding as applicable, and the similar details need to be provided while disposing of the packaging, and that needs to be covered under the EPR. There's another direction issued on 19th April, and there are four direction circulars issued on 19th April. The first one is the direction given to PWPs regarding generation and transfer of EPR credit on centralized EPR portal by 30th April for the sales they have made for FY 22-23 last year. Another direction issued for the unregistered PIBOs, wherein they have been directed to register within 15 days of the issue of the same notice, which is 5th of May, which is tomorrow. Further, they have issued another circular, which is for direction given to registered brand owners for fulfilling EPR obligation on the centralized EPR portal. So what they have said under this, there is a two important thing under this circular, which talks about brand owners need to ensure EPR fulfillment by procuring EPR certificate through registered PWPs, which we all know. And further, if there are some PWPs who are refusing to generate PWP credit on your favor name, then you can go ahead and provide this information about those PWPs who are refusing to share and generate the credit on your name to CPCB, and CPCB will take appropriate actions. Further, the direction issued on 19th April, which talks about implementation of EPR guidelines for plastic packaging. So this particular circular issued by CPCB is also in response to the directions which MOFCC has issued to CPCB. Firstly, they have extended the late fee mechanism from 7 to 21 days, which is as aligned with the MOFCC OM. They have also working on simplification of registration of MSME producer. They, as CPCB has issued an OM saying that MOFCC has issued an OM say asking CPCB to take the accounting of quantum sold to unregistered brand owners by the producers. That accounting they will be facilitating on the portal. Currently, we cannot see that happening. They have also started the given the feature of bulk upload under the portal, and they have providing provision for auto registration of importers if total plastic packaging waste generation is less than 1 ton. So in total, there are 5 circulars issued in response to the directions and OMs issued by MOFCC to CPCB. Please go ahead. Further, coming to the one unique notice which was issued by Sikkim Pollution Control Board on 3rd April, wherein I will just focus on the key part, which talks about further effectively immediately all the units within this jurisdiction of Sikkim PCB to ensure that all pre-consumer, which is the plastic packaging waste generated during the plastic packaging project process or production process or during the packaging line, which includes process rejects, empty containers, etc., are not handed over to the scrap collector or unauthorized agency, and to be strictly channelized as per the EPR action plan and handed over to those registered plastic waste processor who are registered under the EPR portal. So this is a very critical information, and we while this is a direction given by Sikkim PCB, but this need to be followed in all the places where we have our units, that the plastic packaging waste generated at our unit, which is the pre-consumer plastic packaging waste, needs to be handed over to the registered recycler only or PWP only. So that is important to be taken care of. And we might see such notices coming from all the other, PCB soon. Go ahead. Now, coming back to another important topic, which was released through the guidance manual by CPCB itself, and we believe the audit would have already started at a lot of places. So CPCB, as under the rule mentioned, will be doing third-party audits for the PIBOs and PWPs. Now, the detail of all of these has been already been issued through guidance manual, and they have also issued the online module under the CPCB portal itself. So on the home page, you would see a tab of admin, wherein once you click, you will see on the left side online module kind of page will open where you can find the auditor login. This auditor module or login would be taking care for impanelment of the auditors, management of the auditor and the auditing agency, auditing plan, monitoring the audit, and initiation and conduction and performing the audit through the portal. Further, the guidance manual, which was released by CPCB, contains a lot of details. I think there's people are facing some issues in terms of, is it fine now? Okay. So there's a guidance manual in which they have given how the auditees and the PIBOs and PWPs will be selected, what will be the criteria for selection, what would be the audit scope, what would be the checklist, what would be the reporting format, and what will be the environmental compensation and how it will be charged on the basis of the audit report, because the PWM rule clearly specifies that all of the your annual return filing, the audit report output will be considered for renewal of re-registration as well as for environmental compensation as well. Please move. Now, how the what see under the guidance manual, what they have said, that there will be the selection of auditees on the basis of two criteria. One is selection criteria, another is random selection. The first criteria, which is based on selection mechanism, they have categorized the selection for PIBOs and PWPs separately. So under the selection criteria for PIBOs, how they will be selecting the entities? They will be selecting the entities which have submitted road making EPR certificates to claim their EPR credit. Those will be selected for conducting the third party audit first. They will be also picking up the entities who have reported use of recycled plastic, which is more than 20%. They will also pick up the entities who have reported use of recycled plastic, which is less than 20%. So in nutshell, they are saying if you are reporting that you are using recycled plastic in your plastic packaging, then we will be auditing you, checking you, how are you are using, what are the documents you have, because that becomes the primary selection criteria for them as well. Further, entities which have reported zero plastic packaging consumption and the number of years of operation is more than 2 years. So there might be some entity who would be filing registration. They are saying that we do not have any plastic packaging consumption, it's nil, or they have reported zero plastic, but they are operating for more than 2 years. So they will be auditing and verifying whether it is really zero plastic packaging consumption, or it is there any misreporting which has happened. Also, the fifth criteria is that specific entities to be audited based on VIP complaint. So if there is any complaint which has happened for any entity, that will be picked up for your selection for or conducting the audit for that PIBO. For PWPs, they will be looking at the first criteria is the number of audits not re-audited in last 12 months. So any PWP who is not re-audited in last 12 months, that will be audited by CPCB. Number of units not audited so far, that will be picked up for its selection of auditing those from the third party. Number of units audited and not audited becomes this criteria for selection, and specific entities on the basis of any VIP complaint which has been filed. The remaining quantum of for selecting will be on the basis of random. So to just give you an example how, and which is given in the under the guidance manual as well, it says let's say the total number of registered entity units in a particular category is 1000. Then there will be a percentage assigned for the audit. So what will happen? Let's say there is 1000 number of PIBs today registered. Then CPCB will assign a percentage what that needs to be audited in that quarter. Let's say they say 10% needs to be audited in this quarter. Then the total number of units come out to be 100 units entities, but that needs to be audited. And then if then they have said the selection based criteria will be 40 units will be selected on the basis of criteria which we just discussed, and the remaining 60 will be basis on random selection, and whomsoever is randomly selected will be picked up for auditing. Yeah, please move. Now, what will be audited? So in a nutshell, if I have to simplify it for you, while there is a detail given under the guidance manual, but to simplify this for the entire uh, audience here, is that they will be conducting audit of on-site and off-site. So if I have to say what is off-site, or so let's call it information and document verification and on-site field verification. So what are the things covered under the information and document verification? The document information detail which you have provided on the portal while registering, or any other detail in terms of procurement and sales of plastic packaging, all those detail will be checked with a, and they will ask for proper backup information, documents supporting everything. So this is the checklist which you see for the information and document verification, wherein as which is very much in synchronization with the registration checklist, in which they will ask company details, authorized person details. They will ask what is the year of commencement of operation, and they will ask for the documents for the backup and supporting. They will ask detail for production details of the commodities. So they will verify. For example, we while filing the registration, we have said we are producing 10 products. However, when they come and they will come, they would want to see, are you really producing only 10 products or there is 15 or 20? So that will be their approach to audit and check whether all everything what we have submitted during the registration and be submitted to the CPCB are valid and right. Further, they will move ahead and they will also look into the product packaging details and the details how much product packaging you have used, how much you have consumed, how much plastic packaging material you have procured. They will ask you for e-way bill, challans, all those details that what they can possibly ask to trace back any sample transaction and check whether the quantum which you have given, the production of quantity, all those are valid and there's nothing been left out. Af- Beyond this, after they have checked your plant operation and all those documents, they will also check if you have any reuse plans. So if there is any PIB who is looking forward to claim reuse credits or generate reuse certificates, they also will have a reuse plan, and those reuse plan they will be verifying in detail. How are you reusing? What is your disinfecting process? How are you collecting it back? They will be checking all those details. Similarly, as already said in the criteria based selection, wherein if any company is using recycled plastic in their plastic packaging, that needs to be verified by the CPCB auditor. They will be asking the certificate of analysis, they will be asking self declaration, a lot of money, other thing to satisfy themselves whether the use of recycled plastic has been properly done. And then, as you all know, that PIB is also authorized to issue certificate, EPR certificate for reuse, EPR certificate for use of recycled plastic content, and self-declaration of on road construction. So if the PIB is generating such certificate, those details will be audited as to how much certificate you have generated, and on the basis of what documents, whether you have actually reused those quantities and you have a plan, and whether you have actually use the recycled plastic. So this is one area which is we all understand that's centrally handled by the most of the companies today. However, the next piece is bit a concern wherein they will be visiting the plants of the company, and the intent of visiting the plants of the company to check whatever you have given in the registration detail and document information is actually there, and they are not missing those things out. On top of that, they will be also checking physically whether the thickness compliance and marking and labeling compliance is followed or no. They will be also checking whether there is any traces of prohibited single use plastic items or no. They will be also digging deep into the pre-consumer plastic packaging waste generation, handling, storage and disposal, and they will be also looking at correct categorization of plastic packaging happening or no. Further, in this, the scope is not only limited to what is written there, the things which you get highlighted in the yellow, it's the additional things what we have added, because that will be definitely checked. And on top of that, it's not restricted to only the plastic packaging what we are using for our product. They can go to your unit and they will ask you to comply for the plastic packaging what we are using in our units, like stretch wraps, shrink wraps, or any material handling plastic poly bags, and also the plastic packaging which is there at our unit, which comes with raw material and XYZ. So they will be picking anything, and there has been some cases and lapses which has been noted when similar audit conducted by the SPCB official in some states. Further, while we are talking about CPCB audit being conducted by independent third party, even SPCBs will be visiting the units in their jurisdiction. So all of these questions will be vital and valid. And yes, there are a lot of things. It's not only restricted to this. They can go ask you a lot of details. So let's better be prepared. Yes, move ahead. So what we are doing, we are helping companies to be audit ready. We are helping companies, and as we have done a lot of due diligence and compliance ready is CPCB audit readiness for a lot of entities, and we have understood the areas and solution. What are the things required to be done? So feel free to reach out, and we will be able to guide you how we can prepare ourselves and the companies to face this audit and be compliant. Let's So uh, I'll be handing over to you back to Ipshita here, and thanks all of you. I'll be coming back during the Q&A sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. That was wonderfully explained. Now I request Mr. Vikash Garg to take up the annual returns filing and renewal part. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Ipsita, and hi everyone. Good afternoon. So, just two topics I'll be covering. One is for the annual return, and second is the renewal of the applications wherever it's expired for you. Now, in terms of annual return, now that we are in FY 23-24 and the FY 22-23, we had already taken the targets, and a lot of you would have already purchased credit or ensured that the plastic waste is collected and channelized, and you would have received maybe the offline certificate. And while 30th June was the time for filing annual return, Abhishek has already informed that it's extended to 31st October. However, for annual return, we need to, prep up in terms of three pillars that will ensure that we are able to file the annual return by the due date. One important element of filing annual return is uploading the purchase and sales transactions for which the due date is 31st of May. So within this month, and definitely understand that a lot of people will be uploading and using the portal, and there will be huge traffic, and you can assume that the portal might keep crashing a lot of times. So we should all ensure that we do it ASAP basis, the upload of the procurement and sales transactions. And this is key element for filing the annual return. Apart from this, there are two other elements. One is another is the uploading the details of pre and post consumer plastic packaging waste, the similar way that we did during the registration activity. We need to calculate the pre and post consumer plastic generation that we have done state wise and for each plastic category wise. So we'll need to upload this second element. And the third element is that we ensure that we have the EPR credit allocated within our login credential on the portal. So if we have a brand owner registration or an importer registration or a producer registration, so under each registration category, we'll need the equivalent quantity of EPR credit from the registered PWPs, which the PWPs have already started generating and allocating to the brands. It's just that we need to now follow up with these PWPs or assess any challenges and take a corrective action and ensure that we have the credit available within timeline. And definitely, even if the 31st October is the deadline, nobody stops us to file the annual return much prior to that. One of the another important element of annual report is that once you file the annual return, only then you will be getting the target for FY 23-24. So the system will have an inbuilt function wherein it will assess your target versus the credit for last year and the procurement and sales transactions that you will be uploading, and accordingly it will give you a final annual target. While if we are seeing a delay in the filing of annual return, maybe July, August, September, or October, we might not need to wait for filing annual return, but we should take a target basis 2 years average of the plastic waste that we have purchased and introduced in the market, and we can arrive at a target internally and then start taking a target to ensure that we onboard the agencies or the PWPs to get the credit for the current financial year. One important that while filing the annual return, 25% of the registration fees that we had paid will need to be paid for filing annual return. So, Ipsita, move on to the next page. So, annual return filing is a very simple process. Otherwise, once you log in, you will see a tab there which says registration/renewal of registration. You need to click it here and you will land on the annual filing page. So when you file, you land on this page. There are three key components, as you can see on the left-hand side: annual filing, annual consumption, and the state-wise plastic waste generation. In the annual consumption file, we have to put the total of the category-wise plastic that we have introduced across India. Once we do that, then on the next tab state-wise, we have to put the same detail state-wise and category-wise. And after we do this, the system will move on to the next page, which is annual report. Ipsita, do you have that screenshot? Yes. So the system will accumulate all of the details from the purchase and sales transactions that we have uploaded by 31st May. and the consumption and the sales details that we would be uploading within the annual tab. And that will be reflecting here, and the system will then generate the overall target for the next year. As you can see on the current page, it says annual report 22-23, wherein procurement tab is there on the just on the right side, where the details will auto-populate, the sales details will auto-populate, and then on the next page, if you will move, you will see the target for FY 23-24. On the bottom on this page, you will see the, against the target, how much EPR credit we have received. So combining these three activities, the target for 23-24 will be reflecting. Let's move on to the next page, Ipsita. Yes. As you can see on top, it's number 6. It says next year targets 23-24. So this is how our targets will get auto-populated, which will need to ensure for FY 23-24 compliance that we get the appropriate credits on the portal. There is a 7th number tab wherein we have to pay the annual processing fees. And in case of any notes or comment is required to that can be added, and we have to just agree to the terms and conditions and submit. So this is quite a simple procedure. It's just that the backend is quite a little complicated, and we need to ensure that we do that timely. Now on the renewal tab, the current renewal formalities are quite simple. It's just that once we, while some of you might be seeing a renewal tab on your portal, but then CPCB has verbally asked that we do not renew our application right now and we wait for their notification. They have also sent certain communication to certain PIBOs over email asking them to hold on to the renewal activity. So I know a lot of PIBOs would have already, their validity would have expired, but that this is where we have to wait for their further instructions. However, as of now, the renewal process is very simple. It populates the last data that we had filled during the registration. And since after our registration application, certain new tabs were added, like they were asking for representative pictures and certain details with respect to reuse of the plastic packaging, if we have any, and any FSSAI approval. So there we have to just mark yes and no, and accordingly we'll be able to submit our application for renewal along with a fees that is required to be paid. I think I'm sure there a screenshot for that, Ipsita, here on the next. Okay. If it's not there, that's fine. So it's a simple process. So this slide just shows what are the elements of the renewal application that is required to be done. So like in the first, I said representative picture. So depends on the PIBOs who would have submitted, at the very fag early end of the, notification, and you'd have applied, but then that time you would not have uploaded representative picture, then you will need to upload. But if you had applied along with this, then you don't need to do anything on this. Then we need to ensure that the value entered in 7A matches with the value entered in 5C, and there is no difference. And the difference between purchase and sale cannot be more than 20%. So sometimes the system throws error because of the rounding off. So that needs to be, managed. In the section 6A, during registration, if we have uploaded CTOs and that are now expired, we'll need to appropriately, upload with the latest CTO or the latest application number. Then we have to, sign the section 9A. We have to click yes and no whether we have any permission or exemption granted for use of recycled plastic content. And in 9B, we'll have to mention yes and no against the use of the rigid plastic packaging in direct food contact. If we mention yes, then another 9C tab opens up, wherein we'll need to upload a FSSAI approval for the same. And lastly, we have to upload a cover letter and we'll be able to submit the renewal application along with the required fees. So it's a simple process as of now, but since CPCB has told to hold on to this activity, we can assume that either they are building onto certain renewal requirements that may come additionally. And whenever that happens, we'll definitely come back and update you on the same. So that's all from my side. Thank you everyone for hearing me out, and thank you for coming to this webinar.
I thank you all for your time today. You really have motivated all of us, and we will keep on conducting such webinars in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
And have a
everyone. Have a
wonderful
great
day
day
ahead.
ahead.